Long before the first nativity scene was ever imagined, before choirs filled cathedrals or incense rose in Spanish churches, the Iberian Peninsula had already been celebrating the darkest days of winter with fire, song, and sacred ritual. In Spain, Christmas is not only a Christian holiday, it is the most recent layer of something far more ancient. A seasonal rhythm carved into the land by centuries of solstice rites, ancestral beliefs, and pagan reverence for the cycle of life and light. To understand Spanish Navidad, one must begin not with the birth of Christ, but with the world that came before him. Long ago, before Rome, before Christianity, the Iberian tribes, Celt and Tartessians, watched the skies carefully. They lived by the sun and the moon, by the harvest and the storm. And when the nights grew longest in December, they knew something sacred was approaching. The solstice was not a time of despair, but a time of vigil, a threshold between darkness and rebirth. These early peoples lit fires atop hills and gathered in circles, offering food, drink, and music to the gods who controlled the seasons. Fire was the great protector, a way to guide the sun back home. It is said that in the mountains of what is now northern Spain, great wheels of flame were rolled down slopes to awaken the sleeping light. In some regions, the worship of a mother goddess, a bringer of life, dominated winter ceremonies. Later, this figure would quietly transform into the Virgin Mary, but her essence had always been there. Maternal, radiant, central. When the Romans came, they brought Saturnalia, a festival of reversal, mischief, and merriment. It blended seamlessly with the Iberian traditions, especially in places like Hispalis, modern-day Seville, and Emerita Augusta Namur. During Saturnalia, social roles were inverted, gifts were exchanged, and homes were filled with laughter. These customs, too, left their imprint on what Christmas would become, but the fires never went out. Even as the Roman gods faded, the solstice flames remained. They were inherited, not erased. As Christianity slowly entered the peninsula, first through Rome, then through local converts, the Church faced a choice: suppress these rituals or sanctify them. Spain, ever a land of synthesis, chose the latter. The old festivals were folded into new ones. Solstice fires became Christmas bonfires. Pagan hymns gave way to sacred. Ancient processions were reborn as Christian parades. Even today, in corners of rural Spain, echoes of these pre-Christian rites endure. In the Pyrenees, villages still light massive bonfires on December 24th, a tradition known as El Tío de Nadal or Tronca de Navidad in Catalonia and Aragon. Though now wrapped in childlike lore, a wooden log pooping gifts, the ritual retains its core: warmth, light, and renewal. In Galicia, the apalpador descends from the mountains, a kindly coal worker dressed in traditional garb. He visits children in the night, checking if they've eaten well and leaving sweets under pillows. But scholars believe the apalpador is a relic of pre-Christian spirits who once roamed the winter forests, protecting the vulnerable and blessing the hearth. Even the infamous Caga Tió, the smiling log that delivers, presents after being beaten with sticks, finds its roots in ancient fertility rites, where wood and fire symbolize life and prosperity in the coldest nights. And what of the stars? The guiding light of Bethlehem has long been tied to solstice alignments. In many early Iberian sites, December alignments of sun and shadow marked thresholds and tombs. The idea of light born in darkness was already sacred. What we call Christmas in Spain is, in truth, the continuity of centuries. Christianity gave it new language and sacred stories. But the emotional bones of the season, the awe before the dark, the fire that keeps us whole, the gathering of kin were always there. So when Spaniards walk through the glowing streets of Barcelona or Seville in late December, when they sit before the fire and sing ancient songs, when they gather under stars with family and wine, they are not just celebrating a moment in Bethlehem. They are honoring something older than Christmas. A rhythm, a promise, a fire that has never gone out. When Christianity took root in the Iberian Peninsula, it did not arrive as a sudden wave. It came slowly, like dawn, breaking over old hills, shaping, blending, and transforming the deep cultural memory of a land already filled with ritual. And in Spain, perhaps more than in any other European country. This fusion between the sacred and the ancestral gave birth to a Christmas unlike any other. The earliest records of Christian Christmas observance in Hispania date back to the 4th century, during the later days of Roman rule. By then, the bishops of cities like Tarragona and Toledo had begun introducing the Nativity as a liturgical event, a time for prayer, fasting, and holy gatherings. But they were working on ancient soil that still held solstice fires, Saturnalian laughter, and tribal devotion. Rather than erase these traditions, the Church wove them into a new spiritual framework. The long nights of December, once filled with fire to summon back the sun, were now filled with light to celebrate the birth of the sun. Candles lit in stone chapels mirrored the flames that had once guarded mountain villages. The vigil of the solstice became the vigil of Advent, and the figure of Mary, soft, luminous, maternal, found perfect resonance in the Spanish heart. She became more than a biblical character. She was the embodiment of mercy, warmth, and sacred femininity. In many regions, her image was more prominent than even the Christ child carried in processions, crowned with flowers, honored in whispered lullabies. By the 9th century, under Visigothic influence, Christmas had become deeply embedded in Spanish religious life. Monasteries played a key role, preserving chants, writing liturgies, and training choirs to sing the early Villancicos devotional songs that would become the musical soul of Spanish Navidad. But as Spain entered its long and complex period of Al-Andalus with Muslim, Christian, and Jewish cultures coexisting across the land, Christmas took on yet another layer. In Christian strongholds of the north, such as Leon, Castile, and Aragon, the Nativity was celebrated with growing richness, while in the south, under Islamic rule, it survived more quietly in hidden chapels and rural traditions. This duality gave Spanish Christmas its unique emotional tone, at once resilient and contemplative, joyful yet reverent. As Christian kingdoms began to expand southward in the Reconquista, they brought with them Christmas customs, shaped by centuries of prayer and song. Churches were built where mosques had once stood. Bells rang where minarets had once called. And yet, traces of convivenir, of coexistence, remained in the art, architecture, and even melodies of the season. By the late Middle Ages, Spanish Navidad had taken full form. De Misa del Gallo, midnight mass, became the spiritual climax of the holiday. Entire towns would attend, often walking long distances in the dark, their path lit by torches and stars. Inside ancient churches, stone walls echoed with hymns. Incense rose toward vaulted ceilings, and the faithful knelt before life-size nativity scenes, some carved with astounding detail. The Beléns Spanish nativity scene emerged as a powerful symbol. More than decoration, it was an act of devotion. Families and towns competed to create the most elaborate and meaningful displays, complete with running water, moving figurines, and entire landscapes. The baby Jesus, often not placed in the crib until midnight on the 24th, became the center of not just the scene, but of the heart. And then came Las Posadas, processions, reenacting Mary and Joseph's search for shelter. Neighbors would take turns playing host and stranger, knocking on doors and singing verses of welcome and refusal. These community rituals blurred the line between performance and prayer, between reenactment and reality. Over time, Christmas in Spain became more than a date on the calendar. It became a season of presence, a journey from darkness to light, from wandering to home. In Spanish villages, even today, you will hear elders say that Christmas is not something you celebrate. It is something you live. It enters the home through candlelight and song, fills the streets with processions and scent, and settles into the soul with stillness and reflection. It is not rushed. It is not loud. It is not for display. It is felt. It is felt. And though centuries have passed, empires risen and fallen, languages shifted, cities built, the heart of Spanish Navidad remains what it has always been. A sacred passage through time and memory, a birth that echoes through the bones of a country older than Bethlehem. In Spain, faith is not confined to sanctuaries. It walks the streets, rings through plazas, and fills even the smallest gestures with devotion. During Christmas, that faith becomes visible in extraordinary ways, not loud or grandiose, but poetic, embodied, and elemental. The heart of Spanish Navidad beats strongest in the Misa del Gallo, the Rooster, Mass, held at midnight on December 24th. The name comes from the legend that a rooster crowed on the night Christ was born, and across Spain, this Mass is not merely a religious service. It is a sacred convergence of people, time, and meaning. From Catalonia to Andalusia, Galicia to Valencia, families wrap themselves in scarves and silence, walking together through narrow streets toward ancient churches. Bells toll in the night air. Candles flicker against stone walls. Inside, the pews are packed, not just with bodies, but with memory, grandchildren, and even those who are gone, remembered in the hush between hymns. The Mass itself is luminous. Villancicos, traditional Spanish carols, echo from choirs and congregations alike. These aren't mere songs, but sacred expressions of identity. They speak of shepherds and stars, of hope and humility. Sung in dialects from across the peninsula, they carry the cultural tapestry of Spain within each verse. One might hear the haunting Galician tones of Nadal Giluentra, or the rhythmic Andalusian beat of campanilleros in Catalonia. The fum dances with joy. Each song belongs to a region, yet they all belong to Spain. The Beléns, or nativity scene, becomes a living altar during this time. In many towns, especially in Castile and Extremadura, there are not only static displays but full Beléns viviente, living nativities performed in plazas or rustic caves. Entire communities take part. Children play angels, farmers lend real animals, elders recite the gospel beside haystacks and lanterns. These aren't spectacles, they are offerings. And still, the most powerful faith often lives in the smallest details. A grandmother lighting a candle before a modest clay nativity. A child placing the baby Jesus into the manger at exactly midnight. A father blessing his family with a prayer he learned from his father, who learned it from his. Faith in Spain is deeply rooted in the body. It is ritual, a way of moving, of touching, of honoring time through repetition. A bowl of lentils left on a window for passing souls. A handwritten prayer placed inside the Beléns, a whispered Ave Maria before bed. And though Spain today is diverse, secular in many cities, multi-faith in many homes, the essence of Christmas faith continues, often in ways that transcend doctrine. It's not about orthodoxy, it's about memory, about carrying forward gestures that still hold the warmth of generations. There is also a distinct intimacy to Spanish religious life at Christmas. The cathedrals may be grand, but the experience is often tender. You feel it in the way people kiss small statues of the Niño Jesus, in the way children's voices rise in the silence of Mass, in the reverent quiet after the final Villancico. In some regions, like Navarra or families maintain ancient traditions like La Cena de Nochebuena, the Christmas Eve meal, as a spiritual act. Before eating, some place a piece of bread or a coin beneath the tablecloth, symbolizing hope and abundance for the year to come. Others leave an extra seat empty in remembrance of a loved one or in welcome to a divine visitor. And throughout Spain, one sees lie Estrella the star not just as a symbol of Bethlehem, but as a guide through darkness. It adorns windows, hangs above plazas, and appears carved into wood or stitched into fabric. It is not decoration, it is direction. Faith under Iberian skies is layered, part Christian, part ancestral, part personal. It does not seek to prove itself, it simply exists. In light, in silence, in touch, in bread. So when the bells ring on Christmas Eve, and families embrace outside churches, when children carry small stars on sticks and the air is thick with incense and song, it is not just a ritual they follow. It is a memory they keep alive, a belief that light still returns, a faith not only in God, but in each other. If Christmas in Spain is a season of faith, it is also a season of fire. Not just the fire of hearths and candles, but the fire of the earth, ancient, communal, alive. Across the Iberian Peninsula, especially in rural villages and mountainous regions. December and early January are marked by rituals that burn brightly in both night and memory. These are not quiet observances. They are celebrations that echo with the beat of drums, the glow of torches, and the dance of flame against stone. They are Christmas, and they are older than Christmas. In the northern region of Leon, the town of Santos Justawai pastelights its skies with the folias de Navidad. Here, huge bundles of dry brush, called folias, are set ablaze and carried through the streets on the backs of villagers. As flames rise and sparks fly, drums, thunder, and voices chant ancient verses. The procession ends with a great communal fire, where stories are told and local wine is passed from hand to hand. This fire-walking ritual is more than spectacle. It is a rite of purification, a remembrance of the sun's return, a communal heartbeat that links ancestors to the living. Further south, in Yen, the Hoguera de Navidad still burns on Christmas Eve. Families gather in olive groves and small plazas, building fires not for warmth alone, but for connection. Around the flames, they sing, share roasted chestnuts, and recite Villancicos that have been passed down for generations. In Granada, particularly in the Alpujarra Mountains, the days leading up to Christmas are filled with Zambamba's spontaneous musical gatherings, where neighbors play traditional drums called zambombas, tambourines, and homemade instruments. These nights are filled with wine, rhythm, and community, the kind of joy that rises from below, not from the surface. Children and elders alike join in, voices merging in old melodies that speak of nativity and light. There's laughter, yes, but also reverence. The music is not entertainment. It is offering. In Catalonia, the Tió de Nadal becomes both symbol and ritual. A smiling wooden log with a red hat, the Tió is kept alive in the home during Advent. Children feed it each night with scraps of food, and on Christmas Eve, they beat it with sticks while singing traditional songs, commanding it to poop out sweets and gifts. Bizarre to the outsider, perhaps, but in essence, it is a fire ritual. The log once burned to bless the home. Its transformation into a magical figure for children shows how ancient symbols survive by adapting, not vanishing. On New Year's Eve, Spanish cities shimmer with processions of light. In Madrid, Seville, and Valencia, people pour into the streets with candles, fireworks, and grapes. 12 of them, eaten one by one, as the clock strikes midnight, symbolizing 12 hopes for the new year. While not strictly religious, the ritual carries echoes of agricultural cycles and ancient offerings. And then there is Epiphany, or El Día de los Reyes Magos, when fire and light return one last time. On the night of January 5th, nearly every city and village in Spain holds a Cabalgata de Reyes, the procession of the three kings. It is one of the most beloved traditions in Spanish culture. The kings arrive not in quiet reverence, but in spectacle, riding camels or horses, dressed in glittering robes, casting sweets into crowds of waiting children. Floats light up the streets. Drummers lead the way. Torchbearers march beside dancers and angels. It is the last great flame of the season, the joyful blaze before winter begins to wane. And behind it all, ancient symbols pulse quietly. The kings are royal, yes, but they are also echoes of earlier figures. Magi, astronomers, seekers of light. Their journey across desert and time mirrors the journey of the solstice sun across the darkest sky. What unites all of these fire-based traditions is not spectacle, but continuity. Spain has never entirely separated the Christian from the ancestral. The flame is both sacred and earthly. The drum is both celebration and invocation. So when a child stands by a Christmas bonfire in rural Castilla, or dances to a zambamba beat in Harris, or watches the kings pass under a starlit January sky, they are not simply watching tradition. They are inside it. They are holding hands with the past and lighting the way for the future. In Spain, Christmas enters the home through scent before it ever does through song. The aroma of slow-roasted meats, warm cinnamon, toasted almonds, and sweet citrus peels fills kitchens and narrow streets alike, stirring memories, opening hearts, and transforming even the humblest home into a sanctuary of warmth and belonging. Food is not just nourishment in Spanish Navidad. It is remembrance. It is reverence. It is celebration. The holiday feasts begin on Nochebuena, Christmas Eve, with the Cena de Navidad, a meal that can last for hours, shared across generations. In many homes, especially in Castile, Galicia, and Aragon, the centerpiece of the table is roast lamb or suckling pig, cochinillo asado, crisp on the outside, tender huitin, seasoned with garlic, olive oil, and rosemary. These meats are not everyday fare. They are sacred, prepared with care, and served with gratitude. In other regions, such as Andalusia, seafood takes the lead. Plates of gambas al ajillo, garlic shrimp, bacalao a la vizcaína, Basque-style cod, and even grilled octopus reflect coastal traditions and a deep respect for the fruits of the sea. These dishes are not simply regional, they are familial, tied to a grandmother's hands, a grandfather's stories. Before the main course, it is common to begin with sopa de gallets in Catalonia, a rich broth with pastachills so large they must be eaten with care. In Extremadura, one might find migas, a rustic dish of fried breadcrumbs with chorizo and garlic. Each region has its voice. Each plate tells a story. And then, the desserts. Perhaps no flavor defines Spanish Christmas more than turrón. Made from almonds, honey, and egg whites, this nougat comes in endless varieties: hard and brittle turrón duro, soft and chewy turrón, blando chocolate covet, fruit-filled, or dusted with cinnamon. Originating in the Moorish traditions of southern Spain, turrón has become a national symbol of sweetness and memory. Boxers appear in markets by early December, and by Christmas Eve, no table is complete without it. Alongside turrón, there are polvorones and mantecados crumbly, melt-in-your-mouth cookies made from lard, flour, sugar, and ground nuts. Often wrapped in wax paper and served in woven baskets, they are passed from hand to hand with the reverence of heirlooms. In Galicia, families bake filoas, thin crepes, sometimes filled with custard or covered in sugar and lemon zest. In Basque country, one might find panzaneta, a puff pastry with cream and almonds. In the Canary Islands, desserts are often laced with tropical fruits and rum. And no Spanish Christmas would be complete without Rosca de Reyes, the Three Kings. Cake served on January 6th to celebrate Epiphany. Round, golden, and often topped with candied fruits, this cake hides a small figurine or bean inside. Whoever finds it is crowned king for the day, or, in some traditions, must pay for the next year's rosca. Beyond the flavors themselves, there is a profound ritual in the preparation. Mothers and grandmothers rise early to knead dough and peel almonds. Children are called into the kitchen to shape cookies or stir sauces. Fathers carve the meat. Wine is poured slowly, and no one rushes. Meals are not produced. They are offered, the result of time, love, and legacy. Even the drinks are sacred. Cava, the sparkling wine of Catalonia, is served in delicate glasses as toasts rise through candlelight. Anás, licor de hierbas, and other herbal digestives follow dessert, each sip warming the soul. In the north, mulled wine or vino caliente simmers with cloves and orange peel. In the south, sherry or paquerin sweetens conversations that stretch late into the night. Perhaps most moving, however, is what the food represents: continuity. To eat these dishes is to remember. To cook them is to honor. To share them is to say, without words, you are part of this. You belong. In Spanish homes, an extra plate is often set. Sometimes for a soul who has passed, sometimes for a guest who may arrive, sometimes just to remind everyone that the table is never truly full, that there is always room for love. So as the fire burns low and the last crumb of turrón is taken, what remains is more than fullness. It is connection. It is tradition. It is the unmistakable taste of home, seasoned not only with salt and sugar, but with memory. In many parts of the world, the spirit of Christmas fades after December 25th. But in Spain, the most anticipated moment of the season comes not with Santa Claus, but with kings. Three kings. to be precise, and their arrival transforms streets into sacred theaters, deserts into treasures, and hearts into vessels of quiet magic. El Día de los Reyes Magos, or Epiphany, is celebrated on January 6th, marking the day when the Magi, Melchior, Gaspar, and Balthasar are said to have arrived in Bethlehem, bearing gifts for the newborn Christ. In Spain, this moment is not just remembered, it is relived year after year, with a fervor that blends faith, folklore, and childlike wonder. But the magic begins even earlier, on the night of January 5th. As dusk settles over Spanish towns and cities, La Cabalgata de Reyes begins. This is no quiet procession. It is an explosion of light, sound, and emotion. The three kings, dressed in velvet robes and golden crowns, arrive on horseback, camel, or ornate float, each one accompanied by a parade of drummers, dancers, angels, and torchbearers. Candy rains from the sky. Music fills the air. Children, wide-eyed and breathless, reach out their hands with awe. Each king has his own energy. Melchior, old and wise. Gaspar, youthful and joyful. Balthasar, regal and mysterious. Together, they represent the meeting of continents, the unity of mankind, the sacred journey from seeking to finding. But their gifts are not only for Jesus, they are for every child who believes. That night, Spanish children place their shoes by the door or windowsill, often filled with straw or treats for the king's camels. They write letters not to Santa, but to the Magi, asking not only for toys, but for blessings. In return, the kings leave gifts, sweets, or for the mischievous, a lump of coal-shaped candy, known as carbon dulce. It is a tradition steeped in gentleness and awe. Unlike the consumer rush seen elsewhere, Epiphany in Spain feels earned, the culmination of a sacred season, not its climax. In the morning, families gather around the table for roscón de reyes, a golden, ring-shaped cake, often topped with candied fruits that resemble jewels. Hidden inside are two secrets: a small figurine, usually of a king or baby Jesus, and a dry bean. Whoever finds the figurine is crowned with a paper crown and becomes king or queen of the day. But the one who finds the bean must pay for next year's cake, a playful reminder of humility, generosity, and the cycles of giving. The roscón is not merely dessert. It is a ritual of participation, a sweet reminder that in this season of light, everyone has a place at the table. Some to lead, some to serve, all to belong. Beyond the pageantry and sweetness, the story of the kings speaks to something deeper in the Spanish soul: the journey toward hope. The Magi were seekers. They followed a star through the night, guided by faith, uncertainty, and desire. In many ways, their path mirrors the season itself, a passage through the longest nights, through doubt and longing, toward a moment of revelation. That is why the Spanish wait for them, not just as characters in a story, but as symbols of trust that what is sacred will arrive, even if it takes time. That what is precious lies, not in grandeur, but in presence. That the greatest gifts, like peace, wonder, and love, do not arrive in wrapping paper, but in silence, starlight, and shared bread. In Spain, the three kings remind us that Christmas is not only about birth, it is about the journey to recognize it, to kneel before it, to carry its light back home. So when the floats have passed and the music has faded, when the shoes have been emptied and the crowns worn with laughter, what lingers is not just a celebration. It is a wish, quiet, hidden, but powerful, that we, too, may follow stars, that we, too, may arrive. As the final echoes of the Three Kings parade vanish into quiet streets, and the last crumbs of roscón are swept from linen tablecloths, a different kind of silence settles over Spain. Not the silence of ending, but of presence. It is here, in this hush after celebration, that the soul of Spanish Christmas reveals itself most fully. Spain is a country of ancient memories, layered across centuries like the stone walls of its cathedrals, and its Christmas, as joyful and radiant as it is, never forgets the weight of time. In every tradition, whether sacred or playful, there is an echo of something older. A procession that once honored the solstice. A song born in monasteries where candles never died. A recipe passed from hands, now gone. Even in the laughter of children, Terry is memory, the inheritance of joy carried across generations. This awareness of the past does not dampen the season. It deepens Italiano. One sees it in the Presepio or Balon, the nativity scenes that appear in homes and town squares. In many homes, these are not just plastic figures placed in a corner. They are sacred tableaux. Assembled with reverence, the clay or wooden figurines are often family heirlooms, lovingly unwrapped each year. Moss is gathered from the forest. Streams are made to run through miniature villages. Lights flicker like stars over Bethlehem, but here's the truth. The scenes rarely stay true to scripture. Spanish Beléns often include shepherds dressed in local costumes, market stalls selling bread or cheese, even blacksmiths or fishermen working beside Mary and Joseph. These additions are not distractions. They are invitations. They say, this story is not far away. Itese, it's ours. This is the mystery Spain understands so well, that the divine lives in the ordinary, that the sacred is not always in cathedrals, but in kitchens, not only in prayers, but in preparation, not only in Bethlehem, but in Badajoz and Burgos and Barcelona. Spain does not ask Christmas to dazzle, it asks it to mean something, and that meaning is often found in contrasts. In the stillness of a rural village after Misa del Gallo, and in the vibrant chaos of a Zambomba night. In Jerez, in the solemnity of a candlelit chapel, and in the playful cries of children striking the Tio de Nadal, in the austerity of a silent nativity, and in the music of 1,000 drums leading the kings through city gates. These contrasts are not contradictions. They are layers. They are how the Spanish heart holds joy and longing, reverence and laughter, memory and mystery, all at once. Even the land participates in this emotional depth. The north, with its fog and snow, gives Christmas a monastic solemnity. In Galicia and the Basque country, the nights are thick with mist and silence, perfect for reflection. The center of Spain, with its plateaus and ancient fortresses, feels timeless, as if Christmas has looked the same for 1,000 years. The south, with its Moorish echoes and orange-scented air, celebrates with rhythm and fire. And the islands, floating in blue seas, bring warmth to a season often marked by cold. Each region sings in its own key, but always in harmony. And through it all runs a singular current: belonging. In Spain, no one is too old for wonder. No one is too modern for tradition. No one is too far from faith to light a candle, or hang a star or place a shoe by the window. Because Christmas here is not an event. It is a mirror showing each person their place in a long, unbroken chain of love and memory. So as the season fades and January stretches ahead, what remains is not just nostalgia. It is something quieter, more enduring. A gesture, a song, a flame. And somewhere in a small Spanish town, a grandmother wraps a nativity in cloth and places it gently back in its box. She hums a tune no one taught her, and in that moment, she carries the soul of a nation, not loud, but infinite. This is the true gift of Spanish Christmas: to remember, to revere, to belong. Christmas in Spain does not close with a bang, but with a breath. As Epiphany passes and daily routines return, a gentle quiet falls over plazas, balconies, and kitchens. The lights are taken down, but not in haste. The nativity scenes are packed away, but not without reverence. The season does not end, it rests. And in that rest, we find its meaning. Spain has shown us a Christmas built not on speed, but on depth. A season shaped not by consumption, but by connection. A celebration where fire and food, silence and song, history and heart all converge into something sacred, luminous, and entirely human. From the oldest bonfire in a mountain village to the youngest child placing shoes by the window, every gesture has meaning. Every custom holds memory. Every note of every song is a thread in a vast emotional tapestry, woven not just by culture, but by love. Christmas in Spain teaches us that the sacred does not require grandeur, that faith does not always roar, sometimes it whispers, and that what lasts is not the noise of the season, but its quiet truths. That light returns, that joy can be inherited. That tradition is not repetition, it is a living bridge, and perhaps this is the gift Spain offers the world each Christmas. A reminder that we are not as far from wonder as we think. That magic is not lost. It is simply waiting in clay figures, in old songs, in shared bread, in candlelight. So as this story draws to a close, we leave, not with a goodbye, but with an echo. May you carry some of this Spanish soul into your own winter. Light a candle, follow a star. Break bread with someone you love. Remember those who came before you, and never be afraid of the silence, for in it, something holy still speaks. If this story moved you, and you believe these traditions deserve to live on, help us share them, like the video, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let these sacred echoes travel farther. Gracias, and may your days be filled with light.